them to you. Okay, so I showed you how to create your client both ways last time. So this way I'm just going to uplink my Accord forms. I always like to ask people before I open up my Accord forms to not focus on the line of business I'm using for my example, but how I'm processing the submission instead. I just say that because regardless of the line of business that you're going to work on, the workflow will look exactly the same. So I'm going to do a work comp submission, which requires pretty minimum information, but the workflow wouldn't change if you'd been doing a business auto, a BOP, any other line of business. It'll look the same. It may require more information to be filled out, but the workflow portion will look exactly the same. So we're going to start with Uplink, and feel free to stop me if you have any questions.
Okay.
I'm going to open up my Accord form, click my print button, make sure that my printer reads Appulate Uplink, and then click on print. And then I'm just going to confirm my Appulate credentials. And then it takes you again to this page where you have to confirm what line of business you want to work on. So I'm going to do work comp, but if you drop this down, again, I think I explained this yesterday, but the system is smart enough to know that an Accord 30 most likely applies to these 5 different lines of business. If it doesn't fit what you need, you have access to all of our lines of business to choose from, but I'm just going to stick with work comp and click on continue. Once you click continue, you're taken to this smart Q&A section. So this is your insurance profile, basically. Just to recap, this is your master insured tab. It was automatically created based off of the information that is provided on the Accord forms. There's also a contact section in here. So I included Nicole as my contact on my Accord form, so that's why you see her right here. If you don't have a contact on your Accord form, to the right-hand side, you can add new, or if you need several contacts on here, just add new. This tab right here, this is your submission tab. It's labeled with the line of business that you're working on, the effective date, and the current status of your submission. So if you ever need to change your effective date, like I do, because we're past 11/15, you just click on the date. You can type it in. I prefer the calendar tool. And then you can change it to whatever date you want it to be. If you do change the date, all currently existing forms and any newly added forms will automatically update with that new effective date. So you don't have to go back to those original Accords that you uplinked to begin with and change the date yourself. Appulate will do it for you. So I'll show you that right now. Here's my Accord 130 that I uplinked. It was 11/15, now it's 1/15. So you don't have to do that manual work. And then I'm just going to add my contact to the main record, just so she's there. Any questions so far?
No.
Okay. So just reviewing this form section, my original Accord 130 is in here, but also the 125 populated. So as a premium client, you have access to our available Accord forms. So the 125, if you don't uplink that, will automatically populate for you. Any of the data on the 130 that is duplicate on the 125 will bridge over onto that for you, so you don't have to manually fill this out every time. If you click on View All Forms, once you click, the list shown will be those that apply or could apply to the line of business that you're working on. So for example, if you uplinked an Accord 126 and you're looking to do a package, the 125 and the 140 will automatically populate for you. If you ever need to add more forms, just check this little box. And again, any of that data from that original Accord 130 will transfer over onto whatever Accord forms you add if it's duplicate. So now I'm going to talk about supplementals, and supplemental forms are added to your submission based off of 2 factors, and these are market supplemental applications. So the 2 factors are the line of business that you're working on and the markets that you've selected. So in order to populate these supplemental forms, we have to add our market. So we're going to go up here and just click on this little plus sign right here. And then you'd add the markets that you want to submit your risk to. I'm going to show you the 4 different ways that you can submit to with an Appulate. I don't think we talked about open brokerage markets. That was a different training. Sorry, I'm getting them mixed up. So I like to take a minute to talk about this open brokerage market section. So you can submit and get a quote back from any of these markets you see in this section without having an appointment with them. So if you're ever having a hard time placing something, or you were curious to what their product or pricing is like, feel free to utilize this section and see what they come back as. If you like the quote, you want to bind that quote, that's when you have to reach out to that market and get an appointment with them. It is based off of line of business and location of the insured, so some of these will disappear depending on the line of business or where your insured is located. All right, now we're going to add our markets. And now that they've been added, all supplemental forms that apply to my desired markets and my line of business have been added for me. If you work with a market and you know that you have to fill a supplemental out for that market and it's not in our system, just shoot me an email and I can get that added in the queue. That way you have less manual work to do on your supplemental forms. So I'm just going to open this one up for you to see. You can see that this supplemental is fairly complete based off of the bridge data for my original Accord 130. And it's been dispersed to all of the supplemental forms. So it really does save some time so you don't have to fill this out completely fresh and manual. If you ever need to edit any of these forms, over to the right-hand side are edit buttons. So let's say I want to edit my 130. This takes you to a line-by-line section. Most agents prefer to see the form. So go up here and change the view to inline. And that takes you to the form to edit. So anywhere you see a pencil in here is where you can edit information. So I'll just fill in my limits. And anything that's duplicate that you're editing on a form, if it's duplicate on another form, so I'm doing my 130, I'm going to open up this supplemental. If it's duplicate, it's automatically just going to transfer over. So you don't have to go in here and fill out limits on multiple forms. It will just transfer over and do it for you. Excuse me. So there's also additional options to the right-hand side. Next to the edit button are these three little dots. So this reveals the option to send via email, via fax, sign forms or request signatures from your insured, kind of like DocuSign, or send a questionnaire to your insured to complete. You also have the option to send multiple forms to your insured to complete by going back into this Smart Q&A section up here. And towards the right-hand side is the Send Q&A option. So if you click on this, let's say you have some information for your insured, but you need them to kind of fill in the blanks. Well, this option allows you to select exactly what you want your insured to answer specifically. So most of the time you have to compile an email asking what you need them to fill in the blanks for. You send it off, they send it to you, and then you manually fill out that information. This is a great way to just send them exactly what you need. They answer it via a mobile-friendly link, and then that information that they give to you automatically saves in Appulate. So I'll show you this really quick. Maybe I just want the required unanswered questions only for all of these markets. You'll click OK. Just a quick dummy email, and then you'll click Save. Once you click Save, your email will automatically generate for you. Just as a quick side step, it's going to ask you to configure your mail server. So talk to Kenny about this. The reason why you want to do this is because currently the email will be sent out on behalf of you instead of directly from you. And if you configure it, it will also put a copy of the email in your email server's outbox. So talk with Kenny, get him to configure it. It's pretty easy. Just have him, and he can contact me and I can take him through the steps too. So back to this email. Once you click send, the system will send a link to your insured. It's mobile friendly. They can open it up on their phone, tablet, whatever they use. They'll just click on this, complete the questions that are presented to them in a clear and clean Q&A view. And once the questions have been completed, you'll receive an email notification that your insured updated a questionnaire. And when you log back into Appulate, you'll see that all of the data that your insured provides automatically populated back into the Appulate platform for you. So it does save you some time by not having to compile an email and then manually entering the information that they provide. This is a great way to just send them what you need, and then it automatically saves. Any questions so far?
No.
Okay. So we're going to go back into this section and we're going to start working on our first market. The first market we're going to look at is Westlake GA. And Westlake GA has this little clover image next to their name, and this represents an Appulate style submission. Appulate style submission markets allow you to complete the entire rate, quote, and bind process for that market entirely within Appulate. So there's no carrier portals, there's no going back and forth, everything is done in our system. Some markets will have this lightning bolt next to their name, and this represents a live API for that market, which means you have an opportunity to receive an instant bindable quote from that market as long as the submission doesn't need to be referred back to underwriting. Appulate style submission can be both direct carriers as well as MGAs or brokers. The only difference of workflow is direct carriers do not have submarket lists, while MGAs or brokers may have those submarkets for you. So using Westlake GA as our example, we're being shown what markets they can approach on our behalf. We also have the power to select and deselect from the submarket list. So essentially you're telling your MGA or broker exactly what markets you want them to approach on your behalf. If you don't know, you want them to approach everything, you can feel free to check all of these boxes. It's really up to you who you want to submit to. So once you select your submarkets, we're going to go to the middle of the screen and review these colorful letter indicators right here. So these letter indicators can provide you with valuable information specific to your submission. So for example, if we hover over this red D, which stands for decline, the market is telling us what their declination reason is in this informational box right here. So on this one, the FEIN is already in the system, and that's just because I use this FEIN for every training I do, so does my training counterpart. So it recognizes it. So I just need to move a few numbers around on this one. So I'm actually just going to click on this right here. And because the link is live and dynamic, the system takes the guesswork out of where a question is located, and it highlights it in a red box for me. So I don't have to go searching through these tabs, trying to find these tiny FEIN letters. You click on that link and it takes you straight to it. So I'm just going to move a few numbers around. And now that I edited my FEIN, the letter indicator has updated in real time, changing from a red B for decline to an orange A for pending acceptance. And if I hover over this again, I can continue clicking on these links, and it takes me straight to the questions that the market is making mandatory for me to answer. Once you answer a question, it does get taken off of this list, so you don't have to look at it again. So in this section, I like to tell people there's a couple different ways you can answer these questions. You can, of course, continue going through these links. It takes you straight to it. You can answer it. Or if you notice at the top of this section right here, there's a red number. That's the amount of questions in this section that's being required to be answered. They're also highlighted with a red asterisk. So you can obviously continue going through the links and doing it that way, or staying in this section, which is what I tend to do. If you go through all of the questions and you know that the answer is no to all of them, to the right-hand side is a mark all no at one time, a little shortcut for you. So I'm just going to go through these and answer all of my questions. Any questions for me while I'm going through these?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Give me just a second. Okay, last thing, I need to add my contact. I'm going to add Nicole. When you add a contact, you have to assign a role to them. So maybe Nicole is the owner of the building or company, whatever it is. But maybe she also takes care of billing. If this person has multiple roles within the company or association, whatever you're quoting, there's no cap on how many roles you can designate to them. Phone number. Okay, so now that we answered all of the missing and required questions, I'm going to go back up and you can see that all of these letter indicators are now all green. Green is good. It's what you want every time you do a submission, because once they're all green, you can go up here and click on request quote, and then it gets sent off to the underwriter to review. I am in a testing environment, so I'm a little bit slower than you'll see on the production side, so just bear with me while this loads. Okay. So since our API for AmTrust is live and Appulate, I was actually able to receive an instant bindable quote from them based off of the answers I provided, while the other submarket Encino will need to have a quote uploaded by the underwriter. But when the underwriter uploads the quote on their end, you'll receive an email notification letting you know that the quote is in the Appulate system for you. I don't know if you work with AmTrust or ever have in the past. I just like to open this up and show people. The quote format that you're normally used to from any company, not just AmTrust, does not change. So whatever you're used to seeing from AmTrust or Travelers or whoever it is, it'll look exactly the same as you are used to. So let's say you review the quote, send it off to your insured, and your insured wants to bind this AmTrust quote. We're going to go over to the right-hand side and refer to this orange request to bind button. Ours is orange because it's letting us know that we have to take care of binding requirements first. And all of that is done in our system because it's an Appulate style submission. So I'm going to hover over this again, and it's going to tell me exactly what I need in order to bind this. So I need to get my Accord 130 signed, and I have to upload loss runs. So I'm going to start with my Accord form. So I'm going to go to the left-hand side and click on my Forms tab. And then in line with my Accord 130, I'm going to go all the way to the right-hand side, click those three little dots, and select Sign. You would assign yourself as the agency representative, or if you wanted Kenny to sign, he has to log in with Appulate, so you can drop this down, and anybody in your agency that has a login with Appulate will show up under here. So you can assign it to somebody else to sign if you want to. And then your insured would go down below. I'm just going to drop this down and deselect them for today and click OK. Once you click OK, the form will then auto-populate for you to sign. And if you had an insured, it sends them a mobile-friendly link via email. Again, this is very similar to DocuSign. It's just through our system. Once your insured clicks the signature link, they're going to be taken through the exact same signature process I'm going to show you right now. So we're going to start signing by clicking on this jumping green arrow, which takes you to the bottom of the Accord form to this orange box to click on. You'll type in your name, choose a fancy font if you want, or just save and insert. And then another jumping green arrow to finalize this. And then you do have to check this box to agree to the terms and conditions of your signature and click sign. So once yourself as the producer or your insured signs a form, those signatures will auto-populate onto the form for you. All signatures obtained in Appulate are legal and binding in court, and an audit trail of all signatures will generate for you. So if you ever want to download the sign form or that audit trail, we're going to go back to the form section. And our Accord 130 right here, we're going to just drop this down. This gold tipped pen right here, you see, it just changed, but the gold tipped pen means it's pending. The squiggly line means my signature just went through. So to the right-hand side is my signed document and my audit trail. Any questions about signed forms?
No.
Okay. So the last thing we need to take care of is loss runs. So we're going to go and click on the loss runs tab. And yesterday you saw me manually input my prior carrier information, but today you see Agora West right here. And that's because I included prior carrier information on my Accord form. So that populated into Appulate for me. But again, if you ever need to edit that or just change a few things, add things, whatever, just click on Edit Insurance History and you can edit whatever you need in this system. So I'll just get rid of these 2 years. So we did thoroughly go through loss run, or do you want me to do that again, or do you just want me to attach loss runs?
You could just attach them.
Okay, perfect. So just go to the three dots, Okay. So now that we uploaded the loss runs, that was our final binding requirement. So if we wanted to bind this AmTrust quote, we could just go up here and click on Request Bind, and then it's sent off to the underwriter. So that's the Appulate style submission workflow. I know it's a ton of information. It usually requires people to do it themselves for them to have questions, but do you have any questions for me before we review e-submission?
No, I think it's okay. I'll just,
Okay.
like we talked yesterday, it's just going to be a trial and error and getting used to it.
Yes, I agree. It took me a solid week of just doing this to get me used to it when I first started at Appulate.
Right.
Okay, so next is e-submission. An e-submission icon is this globe with the paper scroll in front of it. And they're still partners of Appulate, just like Appulate style submission markets are. The difference is e-submission markets have carrier portals that they still want you to continue using, and that's absolutely fine. Appulate will bridge over duplicate data housed in the system to that carrier portal for you. So we're going to use Arrowhead as our example for e-submission. We're going to go all the way to the right-hand side, click on Request Quote. Once you click on Request Quote, your submission status will update to Submission Initiated, and a new button shows up that says Finished Submission. I'm going to click on Finish Submission, and the system will open the carrier portal. I didn't click on anything because I had those my credentials in the system, so it just automatically logged me in. I didn't click on anything, but the system will open the carrier portal and populate all duplicate data from the Appulate system to the carrier portal for you. You want to make sure you review your submission. You'll go through each page, but you see some questions that are blank in here. And that's either because it's not filled out in Appulate or it's not a question that Appulate asks. So you do have to go through each page. I like to tell people once you leave the Appulate site, it's kind of business as normal as you're kind of used to in those portals. But you'll continue clicking through your screen and allowing Appulate to turbocharge your submission by populating duplicate data in real time. You'll still obtain your quote as you're normally accustomed to, whether it's through email or from an underwriter, downloading on their website, however you normally get those quotes. But once you obtain your quote outside of Appulate, you want to make sure that you load it back into the Appulate system. So after you go through your submission and submit it to your underwriter, we're going to go back into Appulate. In line with Arrowhead again, to the right-hand side are those three little dots. We're going to upload our quote. Give it a second to load. Pam, do you use IPFS for finance agreements by chance?
We use US Premium.
Okay, so you can just close out of this quote markup page that pops up. And let's say you end up binding this quote with Arrowhead. After you load it into our system, you want to make sure you come back into Appulate and mark it as bound. The reason why you want to do this is because it ensures that your reports are accurate, but it also can kickstart your renewal process. So Appulate will bring forward all the information for your insured from the year before and populate it into the new term. But to do this, you do have to upload that quote and mark it as bound if you do in fact bind with that carrier, either through email or on their website. However you do it, if you bind it, come in here and mark it as bound. Any questions on e-submission?
No, I think that's pretty easy.
Okay.
Looking at it, but
Yes.
to go to do it, that's when it changes.
That's what I'm here for. If you run into something, call me. I'm happy to jump on Zoom again to walk you through it. So, okay, so next is Weblink, and Weblink is this more colorful globe you see next to builders, and it's very similar to e-submission. What makes them different is e-submission markets are considered in-network and Weblink markets are considered out-of-network, but the actual submission process will look extremely similar because they're both bridging duplicate data from Appulate to the carrier portal for you. So for Weblink Builders is our example. We're going to go to the right-hand side and click on Request Quote. But instead of clicking on finish submission like we did with e-submission, the system will open up the carrier window. Again, not clicking on anything. I'm just letting it do its thing. But you'll see the system start to run through the motions of auto-filling data. Once it pauses, that's when you can start to fill out any additional data that wasn't duplicate. So again, I'm missing a couple things in here, and that's because it's not filled out in Appulate or it's not an Appulate question. But you'll continue clicking through your screens, and Appulate will turbocharge that submission again on Weblink submissions. And it'll autofill data in real time as you click from one screen to the next. On this one, again, you'll obtain your quote as you are normally accustomed to. So once you get that quote, we're going to load it back into the Appulate system again. To the right-hand side are those three little dots. Upload your quote. Click out of this quote markup screen, and then mark it as bound if you do in fact bind with that market directly. Again, for the same reasons, accurate reports, as well as kickstarting your renewal process for the next year. So e-submission and Weblink, extremely similar. Besides them looking different, there's really just one extra step on e-submission by clicking on finish submission. Any questions on Weblink?
No.
So the last one is email submission, and that's this envelope right here. And to start an email submission, I recommend adding your underwriting contact first. So we're going to go in line with ACE to the right-hand side and click on Select. Appulate has a list of underwriters in our system. If you don't see them in the list, you can add them and you can use them for future use. Just know that your underwriter does not change regardless of your use of Appulate. So whoever you work with now is who you will continue working with.
I have one question with that. Since Kenny's like the administrator of this, I can go in and make those changes and add somebody, or does it have to go through Kenny?
It shouldn't have to go through Kenny.
Okay.
You should be able to add them yourself, because it's not really an administrator type thing.
Okay.
Great question, though. Okay, so once you add your underwriter, you're going to just click on Request Quote, and your email will populate for you. So again, just make sure you configure your mail server. You'll proceed to fill out your submission as you normally would. So Appulate will attach some documents for you, but my loss runs are missing. So I definitely want those included on my submission. Don't click on Upload File, click on Add Existing. So once you click Add Existing, any documents that are attached to your insured will populate right here. So you'll just click the little box. You can, if there's several things that are missing, check the boxes, click Save, and those are attached for you. So let's say you're within the acceptable time frame of this market and you're ready to submit this. You'll just go down here, click on Submit Now, and it's sent off to the underwriter. But let's say you're marketing an account and you're outside of the time frame for one market. Let's say you're 2 weeks early because you're doing your thing and you're doing great and you're ahead of schedule. Well, in 2 weeks, you really don't want to have to backtrack and come back to this account. So what you can do in Appulate, which is my favorite feature as a prior account manager who did thousands of submissions, you can actually schedule a submission to be sent out at a specific date and time. So what you'll do is you'll be in this email submission screen, but instead of clicking on Submit Now, you'll click on Schedule Submission. This will give you your location's current date and time. So click on this little calendar, and I'm 2 weeks out. So I'm going to schedule it for January 20th. I am changing the time to Insurance Magic Hour, 12:01 a.m. to block the market that morning. You'll click Done, and then you'll click Schedule and Submit. Once you click Schedule and Submit, the system will schedule that email and the status for that market will be changed to scheduled. Another area I like to show people is this activity section to the left-hand side. So if you go through here, not only is this a time-stamped log of everything I've done so far regarding my submissions, you can see that my last activity is the scheduling of my email. So when I get into the office on January 20th at, let's say, 8 o'clock in the morning, I log into Appulate. I'm going to see a new line activity. That's the sending of my email submission to ACE. So I don't have to come back and revisit this account. I can schedule it, and it automatically gets sent out for me at that specific date and time. Any questions on email submission? Okay. If you need to note your agency management system of everything you've done for this insured, you can also export it to Excel, and you can save it into your agency management system if you need to.
Okay.
And with that, that's really all for the workflow. I know it's a lot of information. Any questions? Do you have an insured you want to walk through and do yourself? Do you want to save that for another time? I'm happy to do either way.
May save for another time. I can try doing it myself, and if I get into a problem or something, I can always call you and say this is where I'm at with it.
Absolutely.
And
yeah, that works for me.
Okay.
And that's really it for today. I showed you the video tutorials yesterday, right? Where to find those?
Yes. I just haven't had time to look at them.
Oh, no, I get that. Well, that's all I have for you today. So I will give you some time back in your day, because I know time is precious these days. So thanks for taking the time. I know it's hard to find time in people's schedule to do something like this.
I know, because I was on the phone with an insured. They cut me on the phone yesterday. Said, look, I gotta get off. I have a seminar I gotta do in about 5 minutes. Okay, and he keeps going and going and going. I said, look, I gotta go. He said, call me back later.
I get that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you get in there, you have questions, you want to connect again, just reach out to me. I'm happy to jump on another Zoom with you.
I could just email you with the email address that you've been emailing me these reminders and all with.
I don't know what the email address is. It should just be jvolk@appulate.com.
Oh, well, they got jvolk with an equal sign, appulate.com. At notifybf1.hubspot.com.
Yeah, that's for my training calendar. So it's just jvolk@appulate.com is my email address.
Okay, I'm gonna put that in my my password, my email book. All my password books and everything.
You'll also get my phone number. I'll email you these recordings as well. So you'll get my email address and my phone number when I email you these.
All right, well, that'll work.
Perfect. Well, I hope you have a smooth rest of your day. And if you have questions, just reach back out to me.
Okay, I appreciate it, Jessica. You have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Pam. You too.
Bye-bye.